All right, I got your request. You want a long, engaging story for an American audience, perfect for a 60-minute voiceover via 11 labs, around 50,000 to 70,000 characters. The themes are lawsuits and racial injustice, police brutality, and stories of struggle and justice, with a specific example of a black person being denied an iPhone at a store while the police do nothing. I'll write it in 5 parts, ensuring each part flows seamlessly into the next, keeping it captivating and resonant for your audience. I might draw inspiration from Reddit-style stories for authenticity, but craft something original. Let's start with the first part, and I'll continue based on your follow-up requests. If you need tweaks, just let me know. Since you asked for it in English, I'll write in English from here on out. Part 1. The Setup. Meeting the hero and the first signs of injustice. Picture a sweltering summer day in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 2024. The sun is scorching the pavement, and downtown is alive with the hum of air conditioners and the chatter of passers-by. Jacob Williams, a 28-year-old black man with a short fade haircut and tired but expressive eyes, walks down Chestnut Street. He's dressed simply. A gray t-shirt, jeans, and Adidas sneakers. Nothing flashy, nothing that would draw attention. In his pocket is a wad of cash, $1,200, saved up over months from his job as a delivery driver. Today's the day he's been waiting for. He's finally going to buy the new iPhone 16 Pro, the one with the hyped-up camera and sleek design. For Jacob, it's not just a phone. It's a symbol of his hard work. A small victory in a life full of hustle. Jacob's not the type to splurge. Growing up in North Philly, he learned early on to stretch every dollar. His mom, a nurse, and his dad, a retired SEPTA bus driver, instilled in him a sense of pride, but also caution. Keep your head down, work hard, and don't expect the world to do you any favors, his dad used to say. Jacob took that to heart. He's got no criminal record, no trouble with the law, just a guy trying to make it. But as he walks into the gleaming glass storefront of the Apple Store, something in the air feels off. Inside, the store is buzzing. Employees in blue shirts dart around, helping customers with iPads and MacBooks. Jacob heads to the display table where the new iPhones are lined up, their screens glowing like little beacons. He picks up the iPhone 16 Pro, feeling its weight in his hand. A smile creeps across his face. He's been watching unboxing videos on YouTube for weeks, dreaming of this moment. But as he looks around for an employee to help him, he notices something strange. The staff seem to be avoiding him. One guy, a lanky white dude with a man bun, makes eye contact, but quickly looks away and busies himself with another customer. A middle-aged white woman who's asking about AirPods. Jacob waits. 5 minutes pass, then 10. He's patient, but the store isn't that crowded. Finally, he catches the eye of another employee, a young woman with a clipboard. "Hey, excuse me," he says politely. "I'm ready to buy this iPhone. Can you help me out?" She glances at him, her expression unreadable, and says, "Sure, just give me a sec." But instead of helping, she walks over to her colleague, whispers something, and disappears into the back. Jacob's stomach tightens. He's been here before. Not in this exact store, but in this exact feeling. The feeling of being invisible, or worse, unwanted. After another 5 minutes, a manager emerges, a stocky guy in his 40s with a forced smile. "Hi, sir. How can I assist you today?" he asks, but his tone is clipped, like he's reading from a script. Jacob explains he wants to buy the iPhone 16 Pro, 256 gigabytes, in black titanium, and he's paying cash. The manager's smile falters. "Cash?" he repeats, raising an eyebrow. We don't usually take cash for high-value items like that. It's a security thing. Do you have a card? Jacob blinks, confused. He's never heard of a store refusing cash. No, I don't have a card, he says, keeping his voice calm. But I've got the money right here. It's legal tender, right? The manager hesitates, then says, Let me check with my team. What happens next sets off a chain of events that Jacob could never have predicted. The manager returns with a security guard, a burly guy with a walkie-talkie, who stands a little too close. Sir, I'm sorry, but we can't process this sale today, the manager says. It's store policy. Jacob feels his face grow hot. What policy? He asks, his voice rising slightly despite his effort to stay cool. You're telling me I can't buy a phone because I'm paying cash? Is that what's going on here? The manager's eyes dart around, avoiding Jacob's gaze. It's not about you, sir. It's just how we do things. But Jacob knows better. He's seen this look before, the one that says, You don't belong here. He glances around the store. Other customers are staring now, some with pity, others with discomfort. A white guy in a polo shirt walks up to the counter, slaps down a credit card, and walks out with an iPhone in under 5 minutes. Jacob's chest tightens. He's not imagining this. Something's wrong, and it's not about cash. Jacob Williams stands there in the Apple store, the hum of the air conditioning doing little to cool the heat rising in his chest. The manager's words, It's not about you, sir, echo in his head, but they feel hollow, like a rehearsed line meant to dodge the truth. The security guard looms nearby, his hand resting casually on his belt, close to the walkie-talkie that crackles faintly with static. Jacob's not a confrontational guy. He's spent his life avoiding trouble. But this isn't adding up. He's got $1,200 in his pocket, money he earned delivering pizzas and packages through rain and snow, and now he's being told he can't spend it? Not because the phone's sold out, not because there's a glitch in the system, but because of some vague policy that no one can explain. Look, Jacob says, keeping his voice steady but firm, I just want to buy the phone. I've got the cash. I'm not causing a problem. Why can't you sell it to me? The manager, whose name tag reads Brian, shifts his weight from one foot to the other, his forced smile long gone. Like I said, sir, it's a security thing. We've had issues before. I can't override it. Jacob narrows his eyes. Issues with what? People paying cash? Or people like me? The question hangs in the air, sharp and deliberate. Brian flinches, just for a second, but it's enough for Jacob to catch it. The guard steps closer, his shadow falling over Jacob's shoulder. Sir, you need to calm down, the guard says, his tone low and edged with warning. I am calm, Jacob replies, turning to face the guard. I'm asking a simple question. You're treating me like I'm trying to rob the place when all I'm doing is trying to buy something. His voice rises slightly, not out of anger, but frustration. The kind that builds up after years of small slights, piling into something bigger. The store's gone quiet now. Customers are pretending not to watch, their eyes flickering between their phones and the scene unfolding by the display table. A teenage girl in the corner pulls out her phone and starts recording, the little red dot of her camera, a silent witness. Brian holds up his hands like he's trying to de-escalate, but his next move says otherwise. Sir, if you're not going to cooperate, I'll have to ask you to leave. Jacob laughs, a short, bitter sound. Cooperate? I'm the customer here. You're the one refusing service for no reason. He pulls the cash from his pocket, crisp bills fanned out in his hand, and holds it up. This is real money. I'm not stealing anything. What's the problem? The guard steps in again, this time putting a hand on Jacob's arm. "Let's go, buddy. Out." Jacob jerks his arm back instinctively. "Don't touch me," he says, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "I'm not your buddy, and I'm not leaving until someone explains this." That's when it happens. Brian nods to the guard, who grabs his walkie-talkie and mutters something about calling for backup. Backup? Jacob's mind races. He's not swinging fists or breaking anything. He's just standing there, asking questions. But before he can process it, two Philadelphia police officers push through the glass doors, their boots heavy on the polished floor. One's a tall white guy with a buzz cut, the other a shorter Latino man with a stern jaw. Both have hands resting on their holsters, their eyes locked on Jacob like he's a suspect in a lineup. "All right, what's going on here?" The tall officer, whose badge reads Officer Callahan, asks, his tone clipped and authoritative. Brian jumps in before Jacob can speak. "This guy's causing a disturbance, refusing to leave after we asked him. We've got a no-cash policy for big purchases, and he won't take no for an answer." Jacob's jaw tightens. "That's not what happened," he says, turning to Callahan. "I came in to buy an iPhone. I've got the money, cash, and they won't sell it to me. No one's explained why. Then they called this guy." He nods at the guard. "And now you're here. I'm not disturbing anything. I just want to know why I'm being treated like this." Callahan exchanges a glance with his partner, Officer Rivera, who's been silent so far. "Sir, if the store says they won't serve you, that's their right," Callahan says. "You need to leave, or we'll have to remove you." Jacob feels a familiar weight settle in his gut. The weight of being dismissed, of knowing the rules bend one way for some and another for him. "They're right," he repeats. "I've got cash. I'm not breaking any laws. You're telling me they can just say no because they feel like it?" Rivera speaks up for the first time, his voice flat. "Private property, sir. They can refuse you service. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be." Jacob's not a lawyer, but he's not clueless either. He's scrolled through enough Reddit threads and watched enough YouTube videos to know that private property gets thrown around like a shield, but it doesn't always hold up the way people think. "So that's it," he says, looking between the officers. "I'm the bad guy here because I'm trying to spend my own money? You're not even going to ask them why they're doing this?" Callahan sighs, like he's tired of the conversation already. "We don't need to. They called us. You're the one still standing here. Let's go." The guard moves to grab Jacob's arm again, but Jacob steps back, his hands up. "I'll walk out," he says, his voice tight. "But this isn't right, and you all know it." He turns to the small crowd that's gathered, some filming, some whispering. "Y'all see this, right? I'm just trying to buy a phone." The teenage girl with the phone nods slightly, her camera still rolling. Jacob walks out, the officers trailing him like he's a threat, the cash still burning a hole in his pocket. Outside, the heat hits him again, but it's nothing compared to the anger simmering inside. He stops on the sidewalk, the Apple Store's glowing logo mocking him through the glass. The officers linger nearby, watching. "Keep moving," Rivera says, his hand brushing his holster. Jacob takes a deep breath, forcing himself to stay calm. "I'm not doing anything wrong," he says, more to himself than to them. But he starts walking anyway, the weight of their stares heavy on his back. He doesn't know it yet, but that video the girl took is already uploading to TikTok, captioned, "Guy denied iPhone for no reason. Philly Apple Store, cops called." By the time Jacob's halfway down the block, it's got 200 views. By the end of the hour, it's at 10,000. And by nightfall, it's viral. Hundreds of thousands of eyes on his story. Comments flooding in, some supportive, some vicious. "Typical," one says. "Should have just used a card," another sneers. But a few see what Jacob felt. This is about race. They wouldn't do this to a white guy. Back at his apartment, a cramped one-bedroom in Brewery Town, Jacob sits on his couch, staring at the cash on the coffee table. His phone, his old, cracked iPhone 11, buzzes with a text from his friend Marcus. "Yo, you're on Twitter, man. That Apple Store shit's blowing up." Jacob opens the app, and there it is. His face, the guard, the cops, all caught in grainy vertical video. He scrolls through the replies, his heart pounding. Some call him a hero. Others call him a troublemaker. But one comment sticks out: "This isn't over. Sue their asses." Jacob leans back, the idea sinking in. He's not a fighter. Not with his fists, anyway. But maybe this time, he doesn't have to be. Maybe this time, the fight's coming to him whether he's ready or not. He doesn't sleep that night. Instead, he starts Googling lawyers, civil rights groups, anything that might turn this humiliation into something else. The police didn't help him today, and the store didn't want him. But the internet? The internet's watching. And it's loud. "Understood. You want Part 3 to be much longer than Parts 1 and 2 combined. So I'm aiming for around 20,000 to 25,000 characters to make it a massive, gripping installment. I'll pick up right where Part 2 left off. Jacob at home, the video going viral, and the seeds of a fight planted. This part will dive deep into the online explosion, the beginnings of a legal battle, community reactions, and a darker turn with police retaliation, all while keeping the narrative engaging for your American audience. It'll feel like a roller coaster, building on the themes of racial injustice, police brutality, and the struggle for justice. Here we go. Part 3. The storm breaks. Viral fame, legal moves, and a city on edge. Jacob Williams sits on his worn-out couch, the glow of his cracked iPhone 11 casting shadows across his Brewery Town apartment. It's past midnight, but sleep's nowhere in sight. The cash, $1,200 in neatly stacked bills, sits untouched on the coffee table, a silent reminder of the day's humiliation. His phone buzzes incessantly, notifications piling up like digital debris from a storm he didn't see coming. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, his name's everywhere, tied to hashtags like #Philly Applegate and #Justice for Jacob. That grainy video from the teenage girl in the Apple Store has metastasized across the internet, racking up 500,000 views in hours. Comments flood in, a chaotic mix of outrage, skepticism, and the occasional racist troll. "This is why I don't shop there," one says. "Bro, just use a card next time," another chimes in. But the ones that hit Jacob hardest are the ones that see it. They wouldn't pull this on a white dude, straight-up profiling. He scrolls until his eyes burn, replaying the video over and over. There he is, hands up, voice steady, but edged with frustration. "I'm just trying to buy a phone." The security guard's meaty hand on his arm. The cops, Callahan and Rivera, standing there like statues, their faces blank, but their presence loud. The manager, Brian, lurking in the background, avoiding the camera. Jacob's not sure what he feels more, anger or exhaustion. He's been here before, in smaller ways. The clerk following him around a corner store, the Uber driver asking, "You sure this is your address?" But this is public. This is his face, his story, spilling out for the world to judge. His phone buzzes again, a call this time. It's Marcus, his best friend since high school, a wiry guy with a loud laugh and a job at a barber shop down the street. "Yo, Jake, you good?" Marcus's voice crackles through the speaker. This shit's wild, man. You're trending. People are pissed. Jacob rubs his temples. I don't even know what to do with this, Mark. I just wanted a damn phone. Marcus laughs, but it's tight, nervous. Yeah, well, you got a movement now. Check your DMS. Some lawyers already sliding in, talking about a case. Jacob frowns, opening Twitter again. Sure enough, there's a message from a verified account at Philly Civil Rights. Esther Monroe, Esquire. Mr. Williams, I saw what happened. You've got a potential discrimination claim. Contact me if you're interested in pursuing justice. Justice. The word feels heavy, like something he's not sure he's ready to carry. He's no activist, just a delivery driver with a dead-end job and a mom who'd tell him to let it go. But then he thinks about the guard's hand on his arm, the cop's cold stares, the way Brian looked at him like he didn't belong. Maybe letting it go isn't an option anymore. I'll think about it, he tells Marcus, but this is moving too fast. Marcus snorts. Fast? Bro, you're a hashtag. Better strap in. By morning, the stories hit local news. 6ABC runs a segment. Viral video sparks outrage over alleged discrimination at Philly Apple Store. The reporter, a polished woman with a sympathetic tilt to her head, stands outside the store, now swarmed with a small crowd, some holding signs, others just gawking. Jacob Williams, a local man, claims he was denied service for trying to pay with cash, raising questions about racial bias and store policies, she says. They play the clip, and Jacob winces seeing himself on TV, his voice sharper than he remembers. The station reached out to Apple for comment, but all they got was a canned statement. We're investigating the incident and take these matters seriously. No apology, no explanation, just corporate fluff. Jacob's phone doesn't stop. Texts from cousins he hasn't seen in years, calls from numbers he doesn't recognize. His mom, Linda, rings him at 8 a.m., her voice thick with worry. Baby, what's going on? I saw you on the news. You okay? He tries to reassure her. I'm fine, Ma. Just dealing with some nonsense. But she's not buying it. You be careful, Jacob. You know how they get when we push back. He knows exactly what she means by they. The system, the police, the invisible walls that always seem to close in when you step out of line. By noon, the crowd outside the Apple Store has grown. A mix of activists, curious locals, and a few guys live streaming on Twitch show up, chanting, "No justice, no peace," and "Sell the man his phone." Someone's made a sign, "Cash is king, stop the bias." Jacob watches it unfold on Instagram Live, his stomach twisting. He didn't ask for this, but it's happening anyway. Then his phone pings with an email from Esther Monroe, the lawyer from Twitter. She's attached a bio. 15 years fighting civil rights cases, a win against a major retailer for racial profiling in 2021, and a proposal. A meeting tomorrow to discuss a lawsuit against Apple for discrimination and emotional distress. This isn't just about you, she writes. It's about accountability. Jacob's still mulling it over when Marcus shows up at his door, a six-pack of Yuengling in hand. Figured you'd need this, he says, plopping onto the couch. They crack open the beers, and Marcus pulls up Reddit. The r/Philadelphia sub is on fire, threads dissecting the video, debating cash policies, and swapping stories. Happened to me at a Best Buy, one user writes. Cops didn't do shit either. Another. Apple's lying. They take cash all the time. This is racial. Marcus grins. See? You're not alone, man. This is bigger than you now. But bigger starts to feel suffocating. That afternoon, Jacob steps outside for air and notices a police cruiser parked across the street. Two officers, different from Callahan and Rivera, sit inside, watching him. He freezes, the hairs on his neck prickling. Just a coincidence, he tells himself, heading to the corner store for a sandwich. But when he comes back, the cruiser's still there. His phone buzzes, a text from an unknown number. "Keep your head down, Williams. You don't want trouble." No name, no context, just a chill down his spine. He shows it to Marcus, who's pacing now. "Nah, this ain't right. They're messing with you already." Jacob tries to shrug it off. Probably some troll, but the unease sticks. That night, the news shifts. NBC 10 reports increased police presence near the Apple Store after threats against staff. No evidence, no specifics, just enough to paint the protesters, and by extension, Jacob, as the problem. Twitter explodes again, splitting down the middle, half calling it a smear, half buying the narrative. "He's a thug stirring up chaos," one account tweets. "Cops are just doing their job." The next morning, Jacob meets Esther Monroe at her office in Center City, a cramped space cluttered with legal books and protest flyers. She's a black woman in her 40s, sharp-eyed and no-nonsense, with a handshake that means business. "I've seen the video, read the comments, talked to witnesses," she says, sliding a notepad across her desk. "You've got a case. Public accommodation laws, Civil Rights Act of 1964. Apple can't just refuse you without a legit reason. And cash policy doesn't cut it when others walked out with phones, no problem." Jacob shifts in his chair. "What about the cops? They didn't even listen to me." Esther's lips tighten. "That's trickier. Qualified immunity makes them untouchable unless we prove malice. But the store? We can hit them hard." She lays out the plan. A civil suit, $50,000 in damages for discrimination and emotional distress, plus a public apology. "It won't be quick," she warns. "They'll fight dirty, dig into your life, spin the story. You ready for that?" Jacob thinks about the cruiser, the text, the way Callahan looked right through him. "Yeah," he says finally, "I'm ready." But ready doesn't mean prepared. That night he's walking home from the bodega when the cruiser pulls up again. This time, Callahan's behind the wheel. He rolls down the window, his buzz cut glinting under the streetlight. "Williams," he says, voice casual but cold. "Heard you're making waves. Better watch yourself. Streets get messy when people stir shit up." Before Jacob can respond, Callahan drives off, leaving him standing there, heart hammering. It's not a threat, not outright, but it's close enough. Back home, he locks the door, double-checks the windows. The internet's still buzzing. Justice for Jacob trending nationwide now. A GoFundMe for his legal fees hitting $10,000. But the real world feels tighter, darker. His mom calls again, near tears. "Jacob, let it go. They'll ruin you." He doesn't know how to tell her he can't. Not when the cops are circling. Not when the video's out there. Not when he's already in too deep. The fight's not just his anymore. It's Philadelphia's, it's America's, and it's growing by the hour. Got it! You want Part 4 to be even bigger than Part 3, so I'm aiming for around 25,000 to 30,000 characters, making it a massive, immersive chapter. I'll pick up right where Part 3 left off. Jacob feeling the weight of the fight, the police circling, the internet ablaze, and the legal battle gearing up. This part will dive into the lawsuit's early stages, a full-blown protest movement, police escalation, and Jacob's personal struggles, all while keeping it gripping and rich with detail for your American audience. It'll be a beast of a narrative, pushing the themes of racial injustice, police brutality, and justice to new heights. Let's roll. Part 4. The battle lines form. Lawsuits, protests, and retribution. Jacob Williams wakes to the sound of his phone buzzing like a swarm of bees, the screen a chaotic blur of notifications. It's been 3 days since his meeting with Esther Monroe, and the world outside his Brewery Town apartment has morphed into something unrecognizable. The number sign, Justice for Jacob hashtag, has hit 1 million uses on Twitter. The TikTok videos at 2.5 million views, and the GoFundMes climbed to $25,000. Money he didn't ask for, but can't ignore. His inbox is flooded. Reporters wanting interviews, strangers offering support, trolls spewing venom. "You're a legend, bro," one DM says. "Go back to where you came from," another snarls. He tosses the phone onto the couch, rubbing his eyes. It's 7 a.m., but he hasn't slept more than a few hours in days. The weight of it all, the cops, the store, the eyes on him, presses down like a physical thing. Downstairs, his mom's voice crackles through the answering machine. She's been calling non-stop since the news hit national outlets like CNN and MSNBC. "Jacob, I'm begging you, let this go," she says, her tone frayed with fear. "They don't play fair, baby. You know that." He doesn't call back. Not yet. How do you tell your mom you're scared too but can't stop now? Not when the cruiser's been outside his place every night? Not when Esther's filing papers today? Not when Philadelphia's streets are starting to rumble with something bigger than him? He meets Esther at her office again, this time with a stack of documents that could double as a phone book. She's in a navy blazer, her hair pulled back tight, exuding the kind of calm Jacob wishes he could borrow. "We're filing this morning," she says, tapping the papers. "Discrimination under Title II of the Civil Rights Act, plus a state claim for unfair business practices. Damages bumped to $75,000. Apple's got deep pockets, and we're making them feel it." Jacob nods, his throat dry. "What's next?" Esther leans forward. "Discovery. We'll demand their security footage, employee training manuals, transaction records, anything showing they've sold to others with cash. They'll push back, but we've got the video and witnesses. Public pressure's on our side, too." Public pressure. That's an understatement. By noon, the Apple store on Chestnut Street is a war zone of noise and bodies. Hundreds have gathered. Activists from Black Lives Matter Philly, college kids with megaphones, random locals drawn by the buzz. Signs bob above the crowd. "Boycott Apple." "Cash isn't a crime." "Justice for Jacob." A guy in a hoodie climbs onto a trash can, shouting, "They think they can treat us like dirt and get away with it. Not this time." Cheers erupt. Fists pump the air. Someone's set up a speaker blasting Kendrick Lamar's "Humble," the bass rattling the store's glass facade. Jacob watches it unfold on a live stream, his stomach a knot of pride and dread. He's not there. Esther told him to stay low. But he feels every chant like it's his own heartbeat. The protest isn't all unity, though. Counter-demonstrators show up, mostly white guys in MAGA hats and a few "back the blue" types, yelling about private property and snowflakes. "Get a job," one screams, face red. "Stop playing the race card," another jeers. A scuffle breaks out when a protester shoves back, and suddenly fists are flying. Philly PD rolls in fast. Dozens of officers in riot gear, shields up, barking orders. Batons crack against pavement, tear gas canisters hiss. The live stream cuts out as the crowd scatters, but not before Jacob sees a familiar face. Officer Callahan, swinging his baton with a grim smile. By evening, the news is a mess of conflicting headlines. Peaceful protest turns violent, Fox claims, pinning it on agitators. Police overreach at Apple Store rally, the Philadelphia Inquirer counters, with photos of a teenage girl coughing through tear gas. Twitter's a battlefield. Our Philly PD trending alongside Justice for Jacob. Half the posts calling the cops heroes, half calling them thugs. Jacob's name is everywhere, a lightning rod for a city already simmering with tension. He turns off the TV when a pundit starts dissecting his life. No criminal record, but sources say he's had run-ins with authority. Lies, but they stick. That night, Marcus drags him to a bar on Girard Avenue, a dim, sticky-floored spot called the Tap Room, to clear his head. The beer's cold, but the vibe's off. Eyes follow Jacob from the bar stool to the jukebox. A guy in a Flyers jersey mutters something under his breath, loud enough for Jacob to catch troublemaker. Marcus overhears and stands up, chest puffed. "You got a problem, fam?" The guy backs off, but the air stays thick. "This is what it's gonna be now," Marcus says, slumping back down. "You're a symbol, Jake. Ain't no going back." He's right. The next morning, Esther calls with an update. Apple's lawyers have responded. Gibson Dunn, a powerhouse firm, denying discrimination and claiming Jacob escalated the situation. They've countersued for defamation, saying his public accusations hurt their brand. "They're scared," Esther says, almost gleeful. "This is a bluff to shut you up. We've got depositions scheduled, store staff, the guard, even the cops if we can swing it." Jacob's head spins. "Cops? You think they'll talk?" Esther snorts. "Not willingly, but Callahan's got a history. Excessive force complaints in 2019 and 2022. We'll subpoena his records. The legal fight's just starting, but the streets are already a powder keg. Protests spread, smaller ones popping up in Pittsburgh, New York, even LA, all tied to Jacob's story. Reddit's Our Public Freakout sub is flooded with clips. A black woman denied service at a Starbucks. A Latino man hassled at a Best Buy. Each captioned, "Another Jacob Williams." The movement's growing, but so's the backlash. Blue Lives Matter rallies form. Cops marching with signs, "We keep you safe." A conservative YouTuber with 1 million subs drops a 20-minute rant. Jacob Williams is a grifter exploiting race for clout. The video gets 300,000 views in a day. Jacob's barely processing it when the real blow lands. At 3 a.m., his apartment buzzer screams. He stumbles to the intercom, groggy. "Who's this?" No answer, just static. Then a loud bang shakes the door. He grabs a baseball bat from the closet, heart pounding, and peers through the peephole. Nothing but shadows. Another bang, harder this time. He dials 911, voice shaking. "Someone's trying to break in." The operator's calm, detached. "Units are dispatched, sir. Stay put." 10 minutes later, headlights flood his window. He looks out. 2 cruisers, 4 cops. Callahan's one of them, leaning against the hood, smirking. "False alarm," Callahan calls up. "Just checking the area. Sleep tight, Williams." Jacob doesn't sleep. He sits by the window, bat in hand, until dawn. The message is clear. They're watching, and they're not done. Later, Esther confirms it's retaliation. "They're trying to scare you off the case," she says. "We can file a harassment claim, but it's risky. Cops protect their own." Jacob's mom calls again, sobbing now. "They're at my house too, Jacob. Cruisers driving by slow. What did you start?" Guilt twists his gut, but anger burns hotter. "I didn't start this, Ma. They did." The next week is a blur. Depositions begin. Brian, the manager, stammers through excuses about discretionary policies. The guard, a hulking ex-Marine named Tony, claims Jacob lunged at him, a lie the video disproves. Callahan and Rivera dodge subpoenas, citing scheduling conflicts. Meanwhile, the protests escalate. A march on City Hall draws thousands, shutting down Broad Street. Chants of "Jacob! Jacob!" echo off the buildings. Someone spray paints "No justice, no peace" on the Apple Store's windows. Shattered the next day in a vandalism spree police blame on rioters. Arrests pile up, mostly young black and brown faces, hauled off in zip ties. Jacob finally steps into the fray, speaking at a rally near Love Park. He's no orator. His voice shakes at first, but the crowd roars anyway. "I just wanted a phone," he says, gripping the mic. "But they turned it into this. I'm not stopping. Not till they answer for it." Cheers drown him out, phones flashing like stars. But as he steps off the makeshift stage, a bottle flies from nowhere, shattering at his feet. "Race baiter!" a voice yells. Marcus pulls him back as security swarms. That night, the news drops a bomb. Apple's offering a settlement, $20,000 and a revised policy on cash payments. No admission of guilt. Esther's furious. "It's a slap in the face," she says. "We're at $75,000 and an apology, minimum." Jacob agrees, but the pressure's mounting. His landlord's hinting at eviction, too much heat, and his delivery job's on thin ice from missed shifts. The cops keep circling, Callahan's cruiser idling outside his mom's house now, too. A brick crashes through his window at 2 a.m., a note tied to it. "Drop it or else." He doesn't drop it. Instead, he posts the note online. 1.2 million views in hours. The internet erupts again. #ProtectJacob trending. Donations pour in, $50,000 now. Celebrities weigh in. LeBron tweets, "Stand with Jacob." But the real world's uglier. A SWAT team raids a protester's home, claiming threats against police. Jacob's name's on their lips when they cuff him. The city's splitting, half ready to burn for him, half ready to bury him. And Jacob? He's in the eye of it all, Bat by his side, wondering how a phone turned into a war. Jacob Williams stands on the steps of the Philadelphia County Courthouse, the October wind slicing through his thin jacket. It's been 112 days since he walked into that Apple store with cash in his pocket and hope in his chest. 112 days since his world flipped upside down. The sky's gray, heavy with the promise of rain, mirroring the storm inside him. Today's the end game, closing arguments in his civil suit against Apple. The protests have dwindled, scattered by arrests and exhaustion, but their echoes linger in the graffiti on Broad Street, in the number "Justice for Jacob" posts still circulating online, now at 1.8 million mentions. He's in a navy blazer Esther picked out, the sleeves a touch too long, feeling less like a plaintiff and more like a man on trial. "You've got this," Esther says, her voice a lifeline. Jacob nods, but his hands tremble as they climb the steps together. Inside, the courtroom buzzes with tension. The gallery's a mosaic of faces, reporters scribbling, activists whispering, a few strangers who've followed his story from Reddit threads to here. Brian, the manager, sits with Apple's legal team, his face pale, eyes sunken. The security guard's gone, settled early after his lies unraveled. Callahan and Rivera, the cops, aren't here either. Their department stonewalled subpoenas with pending reviews. Judge Evelyn Carter, a wiry black woman with silver streaks in her hair, commands the room with a gaze that cuts through bullshit. Jacob sits, his pulse a drumbeat, replaying the months. The brick through his window, his mom's tearful calls, the nights he woke to headlights creeping across his ceiling. Esther rises for her closing, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. She faces the jury, 8 women, 4 men, a cross-section of Philly's grit, and lets loose. Jacob Williams didn't ask for this, she begins, her voice low but rising. He walked in with $1,200, money he scraped together delivering in the rain, to buy a phone. They saw his skin, not his cash, and turned him away. We've proven it. Security tapes showing cash sales to others that day. Witnesses who faced the same at that store, all people of color. This isn't a policy. It's prejudice, baked into their system, and it's against the law. She points to the defense table. Apple wants you to believe he's a con artist, riding a viral wave. But who called the cops? Who countersued to gag him? They did. You can end that today. Give him justice, $75,000, and a message. No one's invisible. The defense, led by a smug lawyer named Paul Grayson, fires back. This is theater, he says, his voice smooth as oil. Mr. Williams turned a simple refusal into a crusade. Our client's discretion isn't discrimination. It's safety. He's cashed in. $60,000 from strangers. Fame from chaos. Don't reward a tantrum with a payout. Grayson's eyes flick to Jacob, daring him to react. Jacob clenches his fists under the table, the jury's stares burning into him. Are they buying it? He can't tell. The jury's out for 3 days. 72 hours of hell. Jacob holes up in his apartment, the TV off, his phone on silent. Marcus crashes on the couch, scrolling X for updates. They're taking too long, he mutters. That's bad, right? Jacob doesn't answer, just stares at the cash on his coffee table, still untouched. Outside, a lone protester paces City Hall with a sign. For Jacob. For us. The news cycles through pundits. Some call him a martyr, others a fraud. His mom's in Jersey now, her house too haunted by cruisers to stay. I lost my home for this, she'd said last night, her voice breaking. Jacob's guilt is a stone in his chest. Day 4, the verdict lands. Judge Carter's voice is steel. We find Apple Inc. liable for discrimination under federal and state law. Damages, $125,000. The room explodes, gasps, shouts, a sob from somewhere behind him. It's a gut punch of a win, beyond what they'd hoped. Esther's grin is fierce as she hugs him. You did it, Jacob. Apple's team freezes, Grayson scribbling notes, Brian slumping like a deflated balloon. Outside, a crowd, smaller now, maybe 50 strong, cheers as Jacob emerges, fists raised. Phones flash, a chant rises, Jacob! Jacob! But his smile's thin. The money's real, but so's the cost. Apple's response comes fast. A press release denying fault, vowing an appeal, offering training updates instead of remorse. The $125,000 hits his account a week later, minus Esther's cut, leaving him $80,000. It's enough to move his mom back, pay off debts, breathe for once. But the victory's bittersweet. The harassment claim against Philly PD stalls, Callahan's visits, deemed unprovable without footage. Jacob knows they're not done with him. That hunch proves right 2 nights later. He's walking home from a bodega, a bag of groceries swinging, when a cruiser screeches up. Callahan steps out, alone, his buzz cut, shadowed under a streetlight. Big man now, huh? He says, stepping close. That money won't save you. Before Jacob can react, Callahan grabs his arm, twisting it hard, slamming him against the car. Pain shoots through his shoulder. You think you won? Callahan hisses, breath hot on Jacob's neck. This city's mine. A fist lands in his gut, doubling him over. Then headlights flash. Another car, civilians yelling, phones out. Callahan curses, shoves him down, and peels off. Jacob gasps on the pavement, blood on his lip, as a stranger helps him up. I got it on video, the guy says. You okay? The clip hits X that night. 200,000 views by morning. Philly cop attacks Jacob Williams post-verdict. The caption reads, "Outrage reignites. Hot justice." For Jacob trends again. Protests flare at the police HQ on Race Street. This time, it's personal. Jacob, bruised but unbowed, files a new suit with Esther. Excessive force, targeting Callahan directly. The department suspends him pending review. A crack in their armor. "We've got him now," Esther says, eyes blazing. "This one's federal." Winter blankets Philly, and the heat cools. Apple's appeal fizzles. Settlement rumors swirl, but they pay out quietly. The store on Chestnut Street sees a boycott dip. Its glow dimmed. Jacob moves to a new spot in Germantown, a modest row house with a porch. He buys the iPhone 16 Pro from a Best Buy. Cash, no hassle. The clerk oblivious to his name. The phone's camera catches the first snow. A small joy he clings to. One March evening, he speaks at a community center in North Philly. A packed room of faces, young, old, black, brown, white. "I didn't want this," he says, voice steady now. "But I couldn't let it slide. Not for me, for us. We're still here, still fighting." Applause rolls over him, warm and heavy. A kid, maybe 15, asks, "Was it worth it?" Jacob pauses, tasting blood in his memory, seeing his mom's smile from last week's visit. "Yeah," he says finally. "It had to be." April 9th, 2025, finds him on that porch, the city waking slow. The lawsuits linger, Callahan's case crawling through courts, but the cruisers are gone. His mom's home, the GoFundMe's at $70,000, split between legal fees and a youth fund. He scrolls X, the hashtag fading, but not dead. A DM pops up, "You changed shit, man. Thank you." He doesn't reply, just watches the sun rise. The fight's not over. Not for him, not for anyone. But for now, he's still standing. And that's enough.